on behalf of the Cyprus Society of the School of the Freudian Letter, I would like to thank you all for attending. My name is Marinos Maliali, and I will be your host for tonight. Tonight's very interesting seminar will be delivered by Petros Patounas, Lacanian psychoanalyst of the School of the Freudian Letter, and is entitled Responding to a Manic Episode in Bipolar Disorder. This seminar is part of the Responses series, and the Responses series aim at enabling the question, what can psychiatry learn from psychoanalysis? I will give the floor to Petros now. Hello, Petro.
Okay. Hello, guys. Can you hear me very well, everybody? I'm asking because I bought a very expensive microphone, so I want to make sure that it's top of the range. Otherwise, I will throw it outside of the window. So I hope, Okay. As I promised the previous time, every single of my seminars, I will speak about the book that I read. And, I kindly consider them stupid, with good intentions. But Dante said that all roads to hell are based on good intentions. But at this stage of my practice and life, we need to expose some contradictions in those books. I mean, you don't have to call them stupid. For me, it's stupid. When I say stupid, it's something that is totally based on knowledge. That's why it's stupid. Before I go to show you that book, it occurred to me to tell you a few things about Lacan. That Lacan started with the symbolic, and then he went towards jouissance. The way he interpreted the subject was a continuous. What is a subject? It's a very difficult question for a lot of Lacanians to say. Each, speaks of this, answers this question very differently. But the subject is something that is continuing. He used the word continuing. Okay, continuing, trying, whatever, it never ceases, whatever. So my interpretation today officially of what is the subject is a death drive. The way the subject is interpreted, I think it's in seminar 11 or in Joyce. And there's another seminar that he says something similar, and I will tell you next time exact places where you can find them. So also psychoanalysis for Lacan, when he was at some point, he spoke about, because his return to Freud, at some places he was a return to Freud, the idea of returning to the body. He put the limits towards the body, which I totally disagree with that. For example, he spoke about the other as a body, not in the way Angelos and me and Penny, we have been translating that. Angelos brought that to my attention, as I said many times. But he spoke about the first castration, the first separation from the mother, is when the sex is formed in her womb. So there is, when there is a mention of the body, it means that there is a blind spot there. This is what was happening to Freud. I will speak in another seminar for that, what I'm speaking about Joyce. Okay, so also the concept of lack has been, I will speak in mathematic terms related to geometry, not today, but to the one of the new seminars in a few months, related to Joyce and the shapes that appear there. The signifier, there are 3 or 4 ways that mathematically, these are terms from mathematics, that it can move to the next level of representing the subject, and every movement is formed, every triangle, because the triangles form a square in the middle, there is a gap. The lack in Lacanian terms, sometimes it was placed on the body, and this is where it was Lacan in a creed places desire, as long as other Lacanians. But lack and desire. Lack, desire comes where there is a lack in the other, and that it has nothing to do with the body, like the biological body. If there is this, why I say this? What is the purpose of analysis? Lacan says is to form psychoanalysts. Okay, how do we form psychoanalysts? By having psychoanalysis. What we get out of psychoanalysis? It's a deconstruction of the other. What is happening when we're deconstructing the other? Many things happen. One of the things that is happening, we have more freedom to choose our things. We have more freedom of choice. But if there is a lot of deconstruction of the other, there is a deconstruction of the body. That's the no body. This is Lacan. I add the second part, but this is Lacan. He speaks about deconstructing the other. But not even one person thought of what happens when we deconstruct the other. What happens there? Okay, this is where the non-body exists, and this is where the feminine jouissance appear. And that's why there is a jouissance, there is a body beyond the body, beyond the signifier. It's not, and this is where we can think of the drive differently. So these are some notes just to tease you for my next seminars, which I believe they would be very important. And let's go now to share screen and show you the stupidity of the day. Can you see all this picture, Penny? Okay, this is a book called The New Psychoanalysis. It's by Phyllis W. Meadow, which she was one of the most two prominent analysts in a school called the modern psychoanalysis. When a Lacanian heard about what is this modern, why they call it modern, why they use the term modern, they didn't know to answer. The guy who invented that psychoanalysis is Hyman Spotnich, very talented, very gifted guy. But if you read his books, I will speak next time about his own book. It's not psychoanalysis. Penny called it once. It's not even psychotherapy, but a well-being coaching. So this woman, his best student, she was fascinated with Lacan. If you read half of the book, it's all Lacan. She speaks with so much passion about Lacan, and you get the impression that she will introduce into this modern psychoanalysis. It's based in Boston, their main quarters. She will introduce Lacan. But I knew, because I studied a lot of their books, at least 10 and at least 10 journals, which is a lot for studying an idiotic orientation. But I wanted to make sure, why they have been inviting Andre Green a lot to speak there and whatever, some other idiots. So when I read this book, at the middle of the book, immediately Lacan stops. He doesn't even exist. He exists very little. And then she goes and speaks about these theories, about the theories that her school believes, about taking out that everything is aggression, that you have to have analysis to reduce the aggression from the patient. What they are doing, actually, they are training their analysts so that they will have to expect moments that the aggression will be turned on the analyst. And what is happening, they actually provoke the aggression. This is Penny's interpretation many years ago. They actually provoke the aggression to take place in the sessions. So why in the middle of the book, this woman was speaking about Lacan, and then she foreclosed Lacan and started speaking about the ideas of Hyman Spotnich, about these stupid ideas about aggression and whatever. And they call that we are drive theories. There is nothing, and they try to separate themselves from the ego psychologists, and they are just exactly that, ego psychologists. The reason that this book starts with Lacan doesn't say anything new. It's just, they are licking the same words that everybody says. The way that she foreclosed Lacan is that she reached, that's Penny again, the name of the father. If she would have continued with Lacan, she would have had to go beyond the name of the father of her own school, and that wouldn't be allowed. So what was the solution? They start inviting. She went to Adler Green in France to have supervision. And I was thinking why she chose Adler Green. Because she thought that Adler Green, of course, he speaks a lot about the body, he's IPA analyst, blah, 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 but he has some influences from Lacan. He even uses Lacanian terminology. So by bringing the ideas of Adler Green, it would be the best idea to combine the two, to bastardize them, without having to foreclose the ideas of the founder of the school. And of course, what they created, it's, well, Penny called it well-being coaching. I wouldn't even send my worst enemy to that psychoanalysis. It's not in a coaching. I would prefer send them to coaches. So I want to say about this, why this book is stupid. Because you have this book praising Lacan, go blah, 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 and then you say about something else which doesn't make sense. You cannot combine the two. So this is a new psychoanalysis. What is the new psychoanalysis? It's a new psychoanalysis based on mastery, but it means I have no idea what I'm doing. So I chose this book to comment for today. You don't have to buy it. If you want to buy it, but it's an example of people who don't know what to do, but they like Lacanian theory. They take the basic Lacanian stuff, they try to introduce it in their own theory. And this school, actually, they try to introduce everything. Everything. Object relations theory, this, that. It's clearly that what they are creating, they are masters. Okay? And of course, they have these calm voices that you can find if you call in Limassol Metropolis, the church, after 6 o'clock, the automatic machine will answer the phone and will speak with the same voice that they speak. This calm voice, but even though they seem so calm, they constantly speak about aggression. But of course, they display aggression on the place of the analysis. Aggression is everything. So when you hear that aggression is everything, you have to start in terms of fleas, of paranoia. He believed that the nose was everything. Anyway, I will not say more about this book, but it's the second book in the series of, you see, I don't want to use the word signifier idiot again, idiotic, but it's one of the most idiotic books I have read. Okay, let's go immediately to share the screen to see a CBT. This is a CBT. Can you all see the screen? Penny? Penny, can you hear? Yes, okay. Just do like this if you hear. Marino, can you hear? Okay, so this is a CBT by a very famous psychologist. I think she's British. It's a CBT session, 12 minutes. Case study, clinical example session with a client with bipolar disorder. Okay, so that's a CBT approach. Let's start. I will be pausing to give my own whatever I want to give, and then we'll have questions. I will take only 3 questions. So those of you who want to say something, Angele, whatever, who wants to speak, I will accept only 3 questions for the very simple reason that I am invited for dinner later.
Nice to see you again, Tom. How are you today?
I'm okay.
So I understand that since I was seeing you that while ago, that you're in hospital again.
Yeah.
So can you tell me a bit more about what happened before that?
Well, it was a few months ago now. Yeah, I'd done quite well for a number of years. Sort of kept it.
The first thing that I actually dislike is that book, which is at the size of the Quran, in front of her legs, with a pen ready to write.
Under control, really, but
Yeah, I mean, I've not seen you since your gap year, wasn't it?
yeah. So that was 4 years ago. And so yeah, it was quite disappointing to go through it all again. But it sort of started at the towards the end of university. So I was doing law, and well, I was on course for a first, and I was just coming up to my my final exams, and I had a few essays and a few exams, and so I started working really hard. I felt like, right, now is the real time to put the effort in and to put the work in. So I started to step a bit later, take on a bit more work. So my stress levels sort of start to increase over a while. I was drinking a lot more coffee, took a few caffeine tablets, and energy drinks. A few people, well, because sort of the environment at the time was a lot of people were pushing themselves that they wouldn't normally do, and some people were taking Ritalin.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, which and
did you take any Ritalin?
yeah, because it was just like that was necessary.
Okay, quite a few things here. The first thing he says is that other people were pushing themselves, so I did the same. This is quite common. One of the ways that Lacan tells us that the psychotic stabilizes himself by identifying with other people's ego. Okay, so this is what he's saying here. Let's see if she picked it up and as an imaginary identification.
Sorry, at the time, and
How did that affect you?
well, it sort of increased my confidence at the time. Everything that was going on, I was becoming a lot more productive. Yeah, a lot more confident. I was working harder. My brain was working faster, and so my momentum was building up and up throughout the period. Yeah, and so I was relishing it, and I was doing a lot of work. And
So what did that mean to you then to be at that time? Because it sounds like you put quite a lot of pressure on yourself. You've been doing really well at uni, and you know, this was it. This was the time. What did it mean to you to be feeling like that, kind of more awake and more energized, maybe?
Yeah, well, for me it was my sort of time. So I'd spent 3 years. I was in control. I was doing well. It wasn't really part of my life.
I will ask a different question here. He says that he was feeling better now. She's not asking the question that I will ask because she's thinking in terms of the diagnosis that he was, let's say, manic at that time. When the patient, this sort of patients tell you, or analysts, they tell you that they were feeling good with what was happening, okay? Even though that feeling good led to a collapse later, we have to analyze in what dimensions, not what happened or whatever, but how exactly. We have to do a nanotechnology of that specifically to understand why and how he was feeling good. And then we have to detect how this feeling good changed. If we consider as that is the high and then there is a down of bipolar disorder, we are missing the specificities of this person. There was something here that made him feel good, and the bad thing is what perhaps maybe he would tell us, but that this could not be sustainable, didn't have continuity. We could get a lot of signifiers here, a lot of ideas on how his desire to feel good is constructed. But she's not asking this question. Let me take it back to hear her question.
yeah, doing a lot of work. And
so what did that mean to you then to be at that time? Because it sounds like you put quite a lot of pressure on yourself. You've been doing really well at uni, and you know, this was it. This was the time. What did it mean?
Sorry. The key word here, she's using it. See how she interprets all these things. Putting a lot of pressure. That's typical psychology asking. Putting a lot of pressure on yourself. He was telling her, I was feeling good. I was doing a lot of things. And then she says, you are putting a lot of pressure on yourself. She didn't. The purpose there is not to give him this sort of stupid interpretations and put him into this cognition, but to understand what factors, what ingredients were there, so you can use them later to support his desire.
Mean to you to be feeling like that, kind of more awake and more energized, maybe?
Yeah, well, for me it was my sort of time. So I'd spent 3 years. I was in control. I was doing well. It wasn't really part of my life at the time. I didn't really talk to any of my friends about it. But then I started to just sort of grow into it. And I took the opportunity to enjoy this time. And it didn't really reach its peak until after my exams. I was still functioning throughout my exams. I have since found out that I didn't get the results that I wanted to.
Mm-hmm. Why do you think that was?
Well, I thought that I was working harder than ever, but it was misjudged, I think, and so I didn't perform to the best of my ability when it came to the exams, and so I didn't achieve a first time. I only got 2-1.
What else was happening for you around that time? I mean, you talked about the pressure of your exams and staying up for them. Was anything else going on for you around the same time?
She's still not picking up. Yes, there is a collapse, but she's not taking up these good ingredients that he's giving her. There is something that he was doing well. He was studying. Yes, there was energy, all this stuff. But if it was me, I will elaborate. I will ask clarification questions to make them very, very specific in him. And then the next step, I will see when this beautiful talents that he have, under what context they are lost. But she's not doing that.
So it was the end of university, and that was the time where, well, as soon as that period stopped of work, then I was sort of let off the leash a bit, and I just sort of to grow even further. So I mentioned I was taking Ritalin, drinking a lot of coffee, and
okay. One of the most common words he's using is to grow further, to do more stuff. So there is something in relation to a death ride, a continuous movement. Okay. So this person creates a lot. He does this. He has this energy to create whatever. So, but there is no context. I'm not sure if she will ask. Let's see how he can contextualize these gifts to achieve all this stuff in his own relation of time, in his own subjectivity.
And as soon as exams had stopped, substance abuse sort of took a bit more of a hold. And I just sort of grew into...
Substance abuse appears where the pause should be. he's not breathing. The pause is what will allow these gifts to reconstruct themselves and reproduce. So he's taking the limit on his body. He's taking substance abuse because he thinks he needs to, he doesn't know how to stop. Okay? He doesn't know how to stop. And so he's trying to put the limit on his body.
To this person who I thought was him, was the guy that everyone wanted to be around and to see, and so I made sure that I was just everywhere that to be seen. I was, so
this is like the gap after you finish the exams, but before the results are out. Those kind of few weeks.
Which words she didn't pick up? Because she's an idiot. She's an idiot. Like she shouldn't be, not even assistant in a. I don't know where to place her. The word that she didn't pick up is this. Listen to it again.
The guy that everyone wanted to be around and to see, and so I made sure that I was just everywhere.
Everyone, everywhere.
That to be seen, I was.
So this is like the gap after you finish the exams, but before the results are out. Those kind of few weeks.
So
no question about it. No question about it.
We were just going out a lot, if not every night.
You said that you were taking Ritalin and drinking a lot of coffee.
Yeah.
And using other drugs as well.
Yeah, it sort of developed into cocaine, a lot of cocaine, MDMA, MCAT.
And how did they affect you?
I honestly was on cloud 9 at the time. I was the person that everyone wanted to know. In my head, I put myself at the center of the universe, and I convinced a friend of mine who develops.
Pay attention to that master signifier. Center of the universe, and how he put himself in the center of the universe. Because whatever he was thinking that he was talking about taking the drugs, they were relaxing him. Okay, so this center of the universe, it's where he's going to place himself. That's where I will help him to create a universe where he would be the center. Okay, so he doesn't have to get through all this stuff. That's his place.
Apps that we should. I had an idea to develop an app about when you go into a alcohol shop, that it will weigh up like what's the most cost-effective way to get wasted.
Right.
So I mean, at the time I was spending a lot of money, a lot of my parents' savings. I'd got a credit card, which I didn't tell them about. And so in this sort of role as the man about town, I spent a lot on.
Listen to that. The man is he who spends a lot. This is really, really important. It's coming from his history. I don't know if he's going to give us more information, but that's another master signifier indicating a very fragile, fragile position of what a man is. Someone who spends a lot. I will add something to it because it relates to the drive. A man who spends and a man who is spended is wasted.